All right, well, we're live here with Michael Ewing of the magazine's called The Seated Sentinel, I believe. Is that how you pronounce it?
Yeah. Seated
Sentinel. Senton. And we have Chad French from Midwest Territory. And as always, John Cosper jumping in from the back of a flatbed truck.
Heck yeah. And no pants, as we were discussing earlier.
Awesome.
Yep.
So, Michael, tell us a little bit about the the magazine. I think it just released. Is that right?
Yeah, I actually released it early. I was just super excited about it. But basically, the idea just came from a guy out of Georgia was doing this fanzine that I really liked a lot, called The Atomic Elbow. If you haven't had a chance to check it out, I definitely suggest it. But the guy's been doing it for like 5 years, and it's just something that I've always wanted to do. I never pulled the plug, and then COVID hit. I just had some time on my hands.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what? So for people who don't know, what exactly is a fanzine?
So a fanzine is basically just a self-produced magazine. It's typically just on black and white. Some are in color, I've seen, but it's basically just a magazine that's self-produced.
Okay.
It's all DIY.
All right. And how did Chad get involved? Chad, how did you get involved in this?
Well, I was sitting on my couch, as I'm wont to do in this lovely environment. I got a message from Michael asking if I would be willing to participate, maybe do some interviews with some wrestlers, since I know quite a few. So this first one here I did with Aaron Williams, who's I've known for a few years now, good guy. I haven't seen the magazine as of yet. I ordered it, and then snow hit, and I haven't got my mail for like a week, so I haven't actually seen the magazine. I'm sure it's beautiful.
Oh, it's gorgeous.
But once I get it, see, there it is, right there. I will be able to plug more of it other than my interview, which I'm sure is riveting.
Yeah,
I'm sure it's probably one of the top 10 parts of the magazine.
Totally.
Maybe 15.
In all seriousness, man, I loved his work. And I just sent him a message. I was like, hey, I really would like to have you involved.
And how did John? How did you get involved? How do you know these guys?
Michael's been editing some of my books for a couple years now. He's one of the proofreaders that I use, and I've known him for quite a while. Actually, going back probably to my first or second book, and he used to be part of the Destination One Wrestling that we used to have down here in New Albany, which tying into what Chad said earlier is where I first saw Aaron Williams, and honestly, it was an Aaron Williams, Ron Mathis versus Jay Christ and Alex Colon tag match that was the one that really hooked me into indie wrestling. And was like, this stuff is freaking great. So that's I've known Michael for a long while, and he asked if he could use an excerpt from one of actually the Eat Sleep Wrestle book, which I was glad to let him use. And Chad, I've known I guess through the indie wrestling scene here in Southern Indiana. He's done a great job covering a lot of the promotions and promoting. Well, when there were shows, he was promoting shows all the time, and he kept extremely busy doing that. But he's a heck of a writer as well too, and was really glad to contribute.
Yeah, I think it is interesting how all of the writers seem to either know each other or recommend that each other do a book. So that's pretty cool seeing everybody, work together.
It's crazy. It's crazy. Like wrestling really is just like, just one big family. It really is. Like everybody just knows everybody else.
So who were some of the people that you were able to interview for the book, for the magazine?
So we have two interviews in this one. So Chad did the interview with Aaron Williams.
Yep.
I do an interview with a lady by the name of Avista Varlo, who's currently based out of Florida.
Okay.
She's been wrestling probably since I want to say 2011ish, mostly in the Midwest area. But like I said, she's branched out into Florida the last couple of years, and it's actually pretty in depth. It's a 5-page interview. And she goes into some stuff about her training she's actually never talked about anywhere else.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And so is this going to be a monthly thing, a quarterly thing?
I would love to do it monthly, but I'm probably going to stick to every 3 to 4 months.
What is the workload? What was the workload for this?
Man, to be completely honest with you, all the contributors did most of the work, man. I pretty much was the editor for everything. And then just obviously the physical stuff of putting it together. But I did the one interview, and all of my contributors did the rest. So it's 32 pages, and like I said, I did 5 out of 32.
So if it takes off and does like 100 million in sales, who gets
I would
that?
love
The contributors, or
I would love to get people paid. That would be great. Right now, I'm in the hole, to be honest with you. But yeah, it's more of a passion project than anything else. But man, I would love to sell it.
No, that's cool. Is there going to be will there be a digital version at all?
I'm debating it. I'm really old school in the fact that I wanted it to be physical, because I think we're all probably about the age of, like, back in the day of getting a CD and opening it up and looking through the book.
Yeah.
I love it. Like, there's nothing better than holding a book or something physical in your hand. I'm just not a big physical guy at all as far as digital stuff, or I'm not a big digital guy. Possibly down the road, maybe when issue 2 comes out, I might do a digital of issue 1, just to get as many sales of the physical out that I can. But I don't know. I haven't decided yet.
Okay. And Chad, going back to your website that I was reading today, what's your favorite WrestleMania?
My favorite WrestleMania. Oh, wow. You know what? I don't know, man. I like WrestleMania 19 a lot. WrestleMania 20 was good until, the unfortunate stuff happened later. There's been some good ones. I don't know. Those are probably my top 2. I used to, when I was younger, I would rent videotapes. I don't know if the kids at home probably don't know what those are. There used to be stores with tapes in them, and you rented them. My favorite then was WrestleMania 4 because it was 2 tapes for the price of 1. Yep. And you would have to stop halfway through the Andre Hogan match and then start the second tape. So for a long time, that was my favorite. Plus Macho Man won at the end. And he managed to go at his entire life without getting canceled. Unlike some people.
I was gonna give you some crap for talking smack about WrestleMania 2, which is my favorite WrestleMania ever.
Oh God.
So
how many times have you sat and watched it recently?
I watch it probably every few months, to be honest. I love it. I love it. Man, I love the 3 venues. I love the image of Bundy and Hogan in the blue cage.
Oh, I did love the blue cage. Yeah,
that's iconic.
I did love the blue cage. It was, I don't know. I think it was a swing and a miss, but I mean, that's why the guy makes 31 flavors, man. That's why I don't try to give star ratings. That's right. If I like it, I like it. If I don't, I don't. And sometimes I won't like something, and then I'll come around and like it later. It's weird. It's almost like time changes stuff. Except WrestleMania 2 is still terrible. I'm sorry.
One of my favorite stories in any of the books I've gotten to do, Hurricane J.J. Maguire stayed in a hotel room with Jimmy Hart and King Kong Bundy. I believe it was either WrestleMania 2, WrestleMania 3. I think it was WrestleMania 2. But he's got a great story about Bundy going down the hallway to get a soda out of the machine. They hear this loud crash. And Jimmy and JJ go running down the hallway, and Bundy's tipped the thing over because it wouldn't take his change. And he's like, "Come on, boys, just grab a bunch of them. We'll take them back to the room." So,
hey, brother, you gotta get them drinks.
He went over on the soda machine. He didn't on the show.
If you post anything about pop culture or wrestling on Facebook, JJ Maguire has a story about that person.
He does.
It's unbelievable.
He knows everybody. When he worked at, if you watch those old 80s shows, the credits are going by, on the A-Team or whatever, Glen Studios. That's where he worked. He sat at that front desk, and he has stories about Gene Simmons, Farrah Fawcett, Henry Winkler, the guys from the A-Team. He met everybody, sitting at that seat, back in the, when he was in the 80s and working in LA.
That's so funny. I posted something about Britney Spears, and he goes, "Funny story. I knew Britney and Justin when they were like 9 years old."
Yep. Yeah, he mentioned that. Wow. they were Mouseketeers, I guess, in the same building or nearby when they were doing WCW down in Florida, and he and Hogan and Jimmy were working on the wrestling boot band, and then also Thunder in Paradise. So yeah, he was there.
That's great.
So when you heard he had a story about Britney, did you say, "Oops, he did it again"? Or let's check. I'm just checking.
I probably should have. Yeah. So, Michael, what have you done before this this passion project of yours in the wrestling industry?
Oh gosh. So I started in 90. It's going to take a while. 98ish, I think. I was doing a hotline in the Louisville area, which led to me unofficially working for IWA Mid-South. I did their hotline for a while. I designed their website, a lot of back-end stuff. I set up more rings than I care to admit.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Time out. I've always been fascinated with how the ring gets set up.
Oh man, it's not easy. It's hard work, especially when you're doing it with one other person.
Wow. Two people can set up a ring?
One person can set up a ring.
Man,
I mean, it's not easy, but yeah, it's not easy work. But from there, I did. I didn't really do anything for a long time, and then I ran Destination One Wrestling in 2010. So I ran one show and got the hell out because I was smart enough to not lose any more money. I lost like $2,500 on the first show.
Wow.
And I did everything. Yeah. I brought everybody in. I had radio spots. I had a TV spot on the morning show to advertise.
Now, how did you lose money? Was it because you guaranteed too much money, or
it was guarantees? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because I didn't want and I still feel this way. Like I wouldn't if I was still running. I'm not booking somebody for $5.
Yeah.
Like, you deserve to get paid for your work, and that was the biggest thing. Like I overpaid. The budget was just way out of whack.
That's interesting. That's a fascinating way to get paid, like, because guarantees when you don't know what the house is going to be, I think that could be hard.
Right. It was tough. And then to be honest with you, not everybody got paid that night, but they all got paid eventually. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it wound up, it was like 23, 24, something like that, in the hole.
Now, did you own the ring, or do you rent the ring?
No, I rented the ring.
Okay. What does a ring rental go for?
Oh, back then, I think
$1,000.
It was like 300, I think.
Okay.
But the best part of this whole day was like the ring was 3 hours late. I didn't even think they were going to show up. I thought they were just going to take my money.
Yeah.
And they wound up showing literally like 45 minutes before bell time. It was. I've never seen, this is God's honest truth. Like sometimes it's hard to get people to do ring crew. Like you have to force people to do setup and tear down. Mm-hmm. I've never seen so many people working together to get the ring up. Like the entire crew was putting together the ring. It was crazy. This
reminds me so much of the stand-up comedy industry.
Yeah.
Like when I used to book a lot of shows, and instead of not worrying about the ring showing up, I'd be worried that the headliner that I paid wasn't going to make it to the show.
Right.
You know, and then you got to fill 45 minutes, guaranteeing people what they're going to get paid, which I stopped doing after the first time I did that. I just went by percentages.
Sure.
This will be the percentage of the house that everyone's going to get, because there's no way I'm taking a loss on a show.
Well, I think the thing for me too, with my guarantees, were the fact that I don't live in the area anymore. Like I live in Buffalo, New York. So I ran right outside of Louisville, which is like 9 hours away. Mm-hmm. So half of my crew came from New York, and I wasn't going to have somebody drive 8 hours and get a hot dog and a handshake and I'll get you next time, kid, type of thing. Mm-hmm. So I made sure that everybody was taken care of.
Now, what do you guys think, Chad? What do you think about the independent wrestling?
I think it's probably as strong as it's ever been right now. There's talent all across the country. The Midwest is a hotbed. Mm-hmm. Texas is becoming hot. The West Coast, East Coast. There's talent literally everywhere. They're putting on some interesting shows, just all over the country. I mean, GCW and IWTV in April at WrestleMania week are both, I think, running 12 shows that week, something like that, each. Yeah. Not counting all the pop-up shows that are around it. I mean, it's crazy.
Do you think there's any independents that have a chance to, pop up and compete with AEW and WWE?
No, I mean,
Really?
as far as they're never going to catch him as far as money wise. First and foremost, you got to have money to make money. Unfortunately, like AEW's run by a billionaire,
Yeah.
WWE's ran by a billionaire. Impact Wrestling is even owned by a huge company. Ring of Honor is owned by a giant company, and they haven't been able to scratch the surface. Being a big indie should be enough for some people. Doesn't mean you're going to be on national television. Doesn't mean everybody in the world's going to know who you are. Just you got to know where you got to. You can do well being an independent. You don't have to be one of the big guys, and you shouldn't try because it's just a waste of money.
Yep.
Be who you are. If you can make money like that, you're doing better than 90% of the world.
I think there's a growing niche too for some of the regionals. Like, I look at what Ohio Valley Wrestling is doing, what Al Snow's done over there, and he's really building, it seems, a mini territory. He's kind of building that back up to what it was in the late 90s and early 2000s. And, he's obviously they've got the Al Snow Wrestling Academy, and they're actually now accredited by the state of Kentucky, so it's where you can get kind of a business of wrestling degree as well as training to be a wrestler. But I mean, he's got a lot of veterans on that roster. He's got Isaiah, and he's got Cash Flow, and I mean, a lot of guys that are really talented and really have a lot to share with the younger guys. And it kind of looks like what Danny Davis had back in the day, where he had his initial group of students and some of the guys from Memphis, and they were the ones who were, he trained the trainers, and everybody who came in was working with those veterans. And it's exciting to see. He's building out the TV, he's building out the internet presence, and I'm sure once COVID kind of passes us by, he's going to get back out there and start booking some more shows as well.
Me personally, I've been working a lot with Paradigm Pro Wrestling. As of right now, they've got essentially two different brands underneath the one banner. They've got the UWFI series, which is all based off UWFI stuff from the 90s, 80s, late 80s and 90s. It's more of a shoot style. And then on the other hand, they've got a no hook, which is kind of like a hip hop it's got a completely different vibe. And stuff like that is popping up all over this country. But like, if you can carve out just a small portion of the audience for yourself, those people become loyal and they tell everybody. That's how IWA has been able to stay as long as they have. I mean, you
Absolutely.
get the same people week after week. They bring somebody. They may not all fall in love with your product, but some will. And then if you keep those people and you continue to build, you do pretty well.
Paradigm's got a great roster too. They got some really talented guys, and I think they've done a great job really building that group up as well.
You don't think that right now, with how easy it is to get fans and be online with digital, that it would be easier than ever for a company to come out of nowhere and just take down WWE?
No.
It'd be difficult.
No, they would have to. It would have to be it would just have to be a perfect storm.
Really?
It would have to be, man. How many companies have you seen that Impact in 2004, 2005 had maybe one of the greatest rosters I've ever seen? Put on some of the greatest shows I've ever seen. They had the funding, they had national television, and they died. Essentially, they're coming back now, but they couldn't do it. AEW is drawing less than 1 million people a week. People think it's amazing. 700,000 people a week. Nobody else can be able to come near that. Unfortunately, it's just WWE's they're Disney,
Right.
essentially. I mean, that's what they are. I just don't see anybody being able to knock them off. No matter how much people complain about it, every single week, every single show they complain about it, and then the next week they tune back in to complain about it more, and that's where the issue lies. People don't vote with their pocketbook on that stuff.
Yeah, I think there's definitely space for some more niche wrestling. You've had a couple of things that have come and gone. Like Lucha Underground was really hot for a while, and Chikara kind of had its following until things happened with them a year ago. But I mean, and I enjoyed Lucha Underground. I really enjoyed Chikara the one time I got to see him. I know it's a little cartoony for some of the old time folks, but mixed in with that cartoon wrestling, I saw some really, really good just straight up wrestling matches too. But I think there's definitely room for niches, but I mean, it's definitely going to be, that's going to be the minor leagues, and everybody's going to be wanting to get to one of the big ones. And Yeah, I think with some of the opportunities AEW has presented, and the way Ring of Honor and Impact have kind of changed how they're handling their talent, I think a lot of people are choosing to go those directions. And AEW may be more of a dream destination for some than WWE, but I think for the most part, WWE is the place everybody wants to get to. And for certain other ones, Impact's going to be the right fit. Ring of Honor is going to be the right fit. New Japan or Impact.
Interesting. Okay. Well, that blows a hole in my theory. Michael, what do you? Why don't you think that somebody could come out of nowhere? I'll give you an example.
Sure.
You guys are familiar with Barstool Sports, I would imagine.
Yeah.
They came from a dentist office, and now they're almost as big as ESPN.
I think Chad nailed it on the head, man. There's too much entertainment. Like, you're only getting 700 plus. I think this week they got 770,000 people. AEW.
Right.
They may get 800, 900,000, but typically most weeks it's 770,000, 760,000. It's always 700,000. And you're talking about a company that literally was started by a billionaire. And I just, there's no way, that you're going to be able to have the funds, to have the resources. AEW got lucky. Let's just be honest here. And I love AEW, but AEW got lucky in the fact that Tony Khan knew an executive from TNT. And he pitched the idea and he went for it. But pro wrestling is like that bastard child, like it's just, we'll put it over in the corner. Like, networks just typically don't want the programming. It's tough. It's tough to get pro wrestling on national television, and that's what you'd have to have.
I think if somebody were to come across and give the opportunity to a transcendent star, and I mean, it's got to be somebody on the level of like a Hogan or a Stone Cold Steve Austin. I don't think even a Cena would be the kind of person that would draw the numbers and make it bigger for anybody. And I mean, even WWE's not drawing that many numbers, but I think you need that just to get the numbers up across the board, because like Michael said, there's so much entertainment out there and there's so many different alternatives out there that just the audience is just spread out.
And you make a good point too, John. Like, if you look in the 80s and into the 90s, NWA had Ric Flair, WWF had Hulk Hogan. You're not going to to me, there's never going to be another marquee name ever again.
Ever?
No, never. You're going to have guys that are in that top class, in that upper echelon. Like Drew McIntyre is killing it right now, but he's never going to be a Hulk Hogan. There's nobody that's going to be that big again. Never. That has a lot
to do with the way they've been. As far as WWE goes. The brand is first, and then stars are underneath. AEW is trying to build the stars up, but unfortunately, I mean, there's only so many wrestling fans to go around. They say wrestling is it runs in cycles. Now, since I've been alive, and I'm an oldish type gentleman at this point, I remember when it was really popular when I was a little kid, and then it and then it came back when I was a teenager, and then and it really never. Since 2000, it's never hit the heights that it hit from 97 to 99 ish.
Who were the marquee names back then? Like, we talking
97,
the Rock,
97, 98. Austin, the NWO was around, and you got to consider this too. In 98, WCW was the biggest wrestling company in the world, and I looked them up today, and they're not around. That's how quick shit can change in wrestling. Oh, I'm sorry. I said the S word. I was the first one to cuss. But that's how quickly things can turn around. Time Warner decided they didn't want wrestling on their network, which, by the way, WCW's numbers were doing twice what WWE's are now. And they kicked them off. It's a completely different animal now. I can watch whatever I want to on television. At any point, I don't have to watch it live. And that's where the numbers are skewed. WWE's making money off these television rights because they're one of the few things that people are actually trying to watch live, whether it makes sense or not. They still, some of these networks treat it like a live sporting event. Even if it's not really a sporting event, they can still use that as a live draw because they still make commercial money. But with anything else, I can watch NXT tomorrow if I wanted to. It's just, I mean, you don't have to watch it now. which also makes it harder for somebody to strike it high. Because Lucha Underground I loved, but I just DVR'd it.
Mm.
And that did,
Well,
that
I'll tell
didn't
you
help
what.
them.
I thought if there was any entity that I thought benefited a lot from COVID was WWE, because when there was literally no sports to watch, ESPN was showing WrestleMania 3, which I was shocked by. And I sat down with my kids and we're like, okay, let's watch WrestleMania 3. I mean, how cool is this? It's on network television.
So I remember I had just moved from Houston, Texas to Louisville, Kentucky. Never watched Memphis wrestling on Saturday morning when it was happening. I'm ashamed to say that. But every afternoon after school, World Class Championship Wrestling was on ESPN. And I was watching the Von Erichs and the Freebirds and the Dingo Warrior and Percival Pringle III. I'll tell you, that's what really hooked me into wrestling was watching that.
See, that's crazy because we moved up here from outside of Houston and we lived in Webster, Texas. And we grew up, I was in Dallas before that. We watched the Von Erichs and all that stuff. When I first moved up here, I actually don't even remember WWF really all that much until I moved up here and Superstars was on. And then Superstars was on, and then USWA Championship Wrestling was on after that. Yep. And then as I got older, I could stay up late and watch WCW Worldwide, which I was like, oh, God, I don't even know, because I didn't have cable, so I didn't have Saturday night. So I'd never really seen WCW before that. It's nice to be able to get to see things that you don't normally see, especially when you're younger, because you could, stuff you like when you're younger, you like your whole life, whether you admit it or not, which is why I'm still doing this for whatever reason.
Yep.
I think that's how it works for everybody, right? I mean, I will literally sit down and I just ordered all the Looney Tunes for my kids to watch because I refuse to believe that there's a better cartoon out there than the Looney Tunes.
And zero to do with your kids. You don't even care if they watch it.
Right, exactly.
I ordered it for them.
Mm-hmm. I got the Tex Avery collection and the Bullwinkle on my Amazon wish list. I noticed got skipped at Christmas time because some people don't share my fandom. But
now, Michael, who did you grow up watching? What territory did you watch?
So I grew up in Louisville. Louisville. I grew up. We moved when I was in 4th grade to Grayson County, Litchfield, Kentucky, just way out in the country. But I grew up on USWA on Memphis. We had WWF, WCW Saturday night. I grew up on all 3 of those actually.
Okay. And who were some of the wrestlers that you liked?
Obviously as a kid with Memphis, Jerry Lawler was my number 1. But I was more attracted to the heels, to the bad guys. I first saw Dr. Tom Pritchard coming out to Wanted Dead or Alive, and I thought it was the greatest thing I'd ever seen. Eddie Gilbert was a big influence of mine as a kid. Growing up, obviously Hulk Hogan in the 80s was another huge one too. But Memphis was really where it was at for me.
Wait, so if you grew up in Memphis, people like Jerry Lawler more than Hulk Hogan?
Well, yeah. Well, I grew up in Louisville, but yeah. Oh, yeah.
There are people from Memphis who will dispute that Elvis was the king of Memphis.
Oh, for sure.
He might have been the king of rock and roll, but Jerry Lawler was the king of Memphis.
Jerry Lawler did sell out the Memphis Mid-South Coliseum more times than Elvis Presley.
Wow. That's incredible. I remember when he came to WWE, I was like, who is this guy?
Sure.
I figure out, to me, Hulk Hogan was, and will always be the biggest wrestling star alive.
Oh, for sure.
Or ever,
So the 2 angles I remember best from that era are the Dr. Isaac Yankem DDS bit with Jerry Lawler's personal dentist and the Body Donnas. Those are the 2 that stand out the most in my mind for some reason. That was probably about 2021 at that time.
Yeah, my favorite Memphis angle was when Lawler got run over by the car. And there's a great story if you've ever seen Eddie Gilbert's shoot interview. He talks about this whole angle in detail, that after he hits the gas too fast, and he legit thought he killed Lawler. And then the fans back then, obviously, they all thought it was real. So they all called the cops, and the cops had to come to the TV station after he ran Lawler. Yeah. So
that's amazing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That's what made it so great was that it didn't. I don't know. For me, the curtain got pulled back for me when Duggan and Iron Sheik got arrested, and
Right.
I read that in the newspaper, and I'm like, oh man, that doesn't make any sense. You know, I was like, I think I was like a 9 or 10 or whatever.
Right.
You know, but but there was still a little bit of maybe it is real. You know, and then obviously once the internet happened, that kind of ruined that. So
Yeah, that blew that out of the water.
I like to tell the story. I've seen some heels, in the independent scene. And I'll two names. Chad I know will know. Teddy King's one, and Maddie Max is another one. I saw Maddie Max come out in front of a crowd. Nobody knew who she was. She picked up a microphone, and 45 seconds later, everybody's ready to rip out her hair. And Teddy King was just an absolute lightning rod of heat. I mean, when he got on the mic and he started running people down and doing his, I'm the all-star superstar athlete and everything. I remember watching a woman, with a baby under her arm, like a sack of potatoes, tears in her eyes, screaming, just from the second row, at the arena over in Jeffersonville, just ready to come and rip the guy's throat out. She just hated him so much. So there are still some people that can make you lose it and make you kind of sit back and suspend disbelief a little bit.
Well, I'll tell you what.
MJF was one of those guys.
Oh, heck
sorry,
yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
If I were to start an independent wrestling company, I think I would absolutely dominate, because I would just go back to what they did in the 80s. I would get a guy who's 7 feet tall, 600 pounds is where I would start, because those guys don't exist anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what made wrestling so great, is that they were larger than life. I don't want to see people that are my size getting in the ring. I want to see people that are like twice my size, that are comic book characters.
Mm.
Right.
Are there any companies that are doing that currently?
It's interesting you say that, because I was at the Heroes and Legends show at Fort Wayne a year and a half ago, and he puts on a really great indie show. Most of the indie guys are around my height, maybe a little bit taller, maybe a little shorter, some of them. But earlier in the day, he's got the Fan Fest, and it was like, I was taken back to my childhood watching Superstars, because it was Honky Tonk Man, Jake Roberts was there, Demolition, Greg Valentine, Brutus Beefcake, and these guys are all still. I mean, they're in their 60s and 70s. They're huge,
and they're bigger than the guys wrestling.
They're bigger than the guys wrestling, and they just tower over everybody, and they still look larger than life, and it still takes your breath away to be around those guys, and just their their physical presence.
I'll tell you who's a big guy that I didn't know. I did a girl fight show, I think last year, maybe. Slick is about 7 foot tall.
Yeah.
The Doctorate of Desire. Yeah. He's literally about 7 feet tall. And I never, when you see him when you're younger, he's just a skinny guy. But this dude is huge, because he's older now. He's put on weight. He would beat up half the independent wrestling if there was, that was
he's still around, huh? Wow.
Yep.
Oh yeah. He's actually a reverend.
Yeah, he's a pastor over in Louisville. He was preaching back in the day. He was doing the pimp character on Saturday and then preaching on Sunday morning. But
that's awesome.
But yeah, I mean, he came and worked a girl fight show, and he managed one of the girls, and put on. I saw him up at Fort Wayne too, managing. I want to say Sugar Dunkerton, and I mean, just highly entertaining, and still got it. Can still get a crowd going.
Now, do the girl fight shows, are those? Is that a company or is that a theme?
That's a company.
It's a company. Okay. And they just do they go around the country, or they
do the home base really is the Louisville area, but they do go around the country. I know they've got a show coming up in West Virginia, I believe next month. Is it June? We just did some tapings, empty arena tapings here about a month ago. Well, they did empty arena tapings. I called the matches from my house because it was freezing. So they just sent me the tapes, and I did commentary for it from there.
Oh,
which was really nicer for me. Yeah, there was no crowd, so I mean, there are a lot of companies are doing that right now. They're doing a lot of no fan tapings, which is doubly nice, because you can literally set up things the way you want them and then present it as such without any potential screw ups, like the crowd cheering for the wrong guy, or the match that I was at a match where somebody got hurt. They just stopped the match, stopped taping. Everybody figured it out, made sure everybody was okay, restarted, and went from there. Which, if you have the ability, that's what you should do. If you want to make it perfect, make it perfect.
I don't know if I like. Do I? I don't think I like that. John, do you like that? I kind of like the authenticity of it.
Well, I was thinking he was saying that they had stopped a match and broke kayfabe and checks in front of a crowd. But if you're doing the video, I mean, it's take advantage of it. WWE's taking advantage of it. You know,
I know. I
independents,
don't
you
know
might as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, you might as well take advantage of it. So, yeah. Girlfightwrestling.com, by the way, if anyone wants to check it out, that'll take you to their Facebook page. They're posting one of those empty arena matches every Tuesday night right now.
Really? That's interesting.
Billy Starks was on last week, and this past week was Mickey James and Paige Jones, which was a good one.
Now, where are they?
Mickey Knuckles.
Mickey Knuckles. I'm sorry. Yeah,
they're in Kentucky too.
Yeah, they're based out of Kentucky.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting.
But they're one of the ones that they do tour the East Coast. They've been out west. They've been in Texas. Mm-hmm. They do different things. So
yeah.
But there's lots still in this area. There's Paradigm Pro Wrestling. There's IWA, obviously. New Wave Pro, a little further north. There's all kinds of wrestling just in this in the Midwest. Midwest territory. In the Midwest, there's like 100 different companies, and some of them use me to say talky things, so I like them. They pay me money.
Now, you come to this area, most of them are in southern Indiana, and that's because Kentucky's still very heavily regulated. In Indiana, they described as the Wild Wild West. Anybody could run a show. So, and that's a tale of two promoters, Dick the Bruiser and Ian Rotman, how they each handled controversy at the State House. So,
what are some of the regulations in Kentucky?
No blood at all, even accidentally.
How do you prevent accidental blood?
They don't care.
Yeah,
they don't care. They're just going to fine you, and that's where they get their money. They also have to have licenses for everything.
Yeah,
I always
down to the bell ringer. The person that rings the bell has to have a license.
If you were a TV personality on an independent show, because JJ had tried to drag me into Kentucky's Own Wrestling. They were going to produce a television program, and they were going to have me on as like a 90-minute segment every week, giving a history. I wasn't even going to be at the arena. I wasn't going to be at the show or anything. I was going to film this from home and send it in. I had to have a license in the state of Kentucky. I had to pay $25.
That's ridiculous.
That's amazing.
All the talent, you're subject to random drug tests at all times. The promoter fees, I know, are astronomical to run, and they really do. I mean, it's like the old NWA. They make sure, okay, you have this territory, nobody else can run here. You have this territory, nobody else can run here. And I'm sure you guys have seen the post on Facebook too. If anybody knows about this outlaw show running, somewhere, please let us know so we can shut it down. But then you come to Indiana, there's 5 or 6 companies running out of the same building.
What year is Kentucky living in?
As usual, the 1840s. This is why I only run one show a year, and it's for charity. So, and it's in Indiana.
That's why I don't run a show at all. I don't want nothing to do with it.
That's why John just writes about them.
Exactly. My wife's like, "You're gonna get involved." So I was like, "Honey, I'm not. There's no way." So,
well, I'm gonna put this out there. If you guys know anyone, I want to be a manager for I'll fly anywhere. Let me just get on the mic, be a manager for like a night somewhere.
Pondo, you watching?
I'm having a show in April. I'm having a show April 17th.
It's a fundraiser.
Parkade 2. Salem, Indiana. Parkade 2.
Man, that would be unbelievable.
All of the money goes directly to the Salem Animal Shelter.
Oh, that's cool.
So, it's a no-kill shelter, and they don't get any funding from the state or local. I mean, everything's donations. Last year, we were able to raise over $1,200, I think, and then tons of food and stuff. So we're trying to do better than that this year. We've got 15 matches.
Wow.
So, yeah.
It'll be
on IWTV.
It's more than WrestleMania 4 had, I think.
Buddy,
you're halfway to an IWA mid-sales.
I don't play around. What I do one show a year, man. So if I do it, I'm going to do it right.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the way to do it.
I wouldn't advise it, but yeah.
Now, how do you do that? I mean, how do you book the shows beforehand? How do you make sure that everyone shows up?
Well, I mean, you just can't. It's for charity, so I haven't had an issue yet. The people that didn't make it last year let me know in advance, like, hey, if it's a situation where I know what I'm able to pay people, I mean, because this is all coming. This year, people are actually sponsoring matches. Last year, it all came from us. Last year, we paid for all of it. So, I mean, this year, we're getting help out from sponsors, which is nice because, I mean, we don't. I mean, we're not. I'm not a wealthy guy, so all this stuff's coming straight from my pocket. But I just contact people I know in advance first. We get a list of people we want on the show. I just make up a card in my head. If I can get it booked, I will, and then we just go from there. I haven't had an issue yet with people not showing up.
No, that's pretty cool. Do you have like a battle royal, like a women's match, tag team match, lumberjack match?
Last year we had something called the Loyal Rumble because it's for doggies. So last year we had a Loyal Rumble. It's a Royal Rumble essentially. This year we're doing it differently though. It's the same Royal Rumble concept, except it's a bunkhouse stampede match where everybody's come as you are and they can bring weapons. Then we've got street fights. We've got intergender matches. We've got championship matches. One actually for the MidwestTerritory.com championship chain, which was established last year for Paradigm Pro Wrestling. It's a big gold chain with Midwest Territories logo on it. It's pretty nice. It's going to be on the line. We got all kinds of stuff. There'll be food trucks out. It'll be fun. I hope. Again.
No, that's pretty cool. Man, you guys got a lot of great wrestling in Indiana, it seems. Why is Indiana like the hotbed of independent wrestling?
Because we can still run, for one.
Yeah, it's a free-for-all.
I guess
a lot of talented people, a lot of motivated people here, and guys, there's Joseph Schwartz up in Indianapolis has put together his Flophouse program. Just a lot of people are, taking advantage, not sitting on their butts, but they're taking advantage of the situation and doing what they can to keep wrestling going and create something new.
Yeah, and that's the thing too. Like us in particular, and I'm pretty sure everybody's like this. If to be on the show, you have to have a negative COVID test before you even come near the building. We test everybody for temperatures and anything like that. So we're 100% last year, even when this all really first started going down. We did temperature checks. We tried to keep everybody socially distanced, masks as much as humanly possible, sanitation stations everywhere. Everybody's trying to make it safe as possible. I'm sure there's some people that are, half-assing it or whatever, but we're in this area. We're trying not to. We're trying to keep everybody safe best we can.
So all the shows I've seen run in Southern Indiana the last year, I haven't seen anything about, there hasn't been any kind of an outbreak from any one of those shows. That's everybody that's running in this area. So,
well, they had the Collective here in October, which is GCW runs a big show. Mm-hmm. They normally do it during WrestleMania season. They're doing it this year down in Tampa, but normally do it WrestleMania season. Last year got shut down due to WrestleMania being at the Performance Center. So they had it in Indianapolis in October, and I think out of there was 12 shows or something in 3 days, maybe more. I don't even remember.
It was a lot.
But there was, I think there was less than 15 people that ended up saying, "Hey, I got COVID" out of that whole situation. And I think there were 300 or 400 people in the crowd every night. So, including me.
No, that's cool. That's really cool to keep it alive and keep it going, especially during COVID. And I hope that by April, I think we'd be back to semi-normal. I would hope.
Hoping.
I got to get my shot by April. James Bond's coming out. I got to go see that in the theater.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff coming out. Mortal Kombat apparently is coming out April 16th. So.
Yeah, man, that trailer just dropped today, man. It looks fantastic.
Really?
Oh, I haven't seen. Yeah. I need to check it out.
Oh, it's amazing. It's like a 2.5 minute trailer just dropped today.
I haven't seen a movie in the last 3 years that I thought was good.
If you get a chance, go to YouTube. The Mortal Kombat Legacy series is fantastic.
Okay.
Was a web series that they did a couple years ago. I absolutely love it. I've got both of the Blu-rays. I think all the episodes are still up on YouTube. That's where it originally premiered. But right. I mean, a really gritty, really dark kind of take on Mortal Kombat. It was great. I loved it.
Nice. Yeah, I'll check it out.
So, Michael, we brought you on to talk about the fanzine. Don't want to lose our thought process here, but what are you what are you envisioning with what's going to happen with this moving forward?
Oh man, I just want people to like it, man. I think I'm going to paraphrase this very badly, but I saw in an Aaron Williams promo, he talked about how it's not the amount of people who sees it, it's the quality of what's in there and the people that do see it like it. I'm actually limiting everything to 60 issues. right now. So I mean, if it does catch fire, it does. We can up that. But I'm more concerned with people actually liking the content than it blowing up per se.
Mm-hmm.
As long as I keep putting out quality stuff, man, I'll keep doing it forever.
Yeah,
I need to interject here. If anybody watching this knows somebody who knows somebody working at one of the major promotions, you've heard Michael, you've heard Chad, you've heard me mention the name Aaron Williams. Somebody sign this guy.
Right.
Go watch his matches. Go watch his promos. He of all the guys that came out of Dayton and got signed last couple of years, I don't know how he was missed. I know he's older than the Rascals and some of those guys, but the guy can go, and the guy deserves his shot.
Yeah, for sure.
Best unsigned guy in wrestling, and that's up 1 and 1A. The 1A would be Gary J.
Now, what is his name? Aaron Williams.
Aaron Williams.
Okay. Why don't we get him on Can we get him on the show?
I'll get him on the show. Absolutely.
Oh, he would do it for sure. I'm sure he would.
I'll drop him a note.
Yeah, that'd be cool. And whereabouts does he wrestle out of? The Midwestern territory too?
Yep, he's out of Ohio.
Ohio. Okay. No, that's cool. Now, do you guys have any cool action figures like I got behind me? Any memorabilia you guys collect?
I have my own action figure.
Well, that's pretty cool.
Hold on a second. Let me see if I can find this thing real quick.
I looked into getting one of those made up too.
I actually got it for Christmas one year. So let's see if we can actually see it. That's me.
Oh yeah. All right.
That's cool.
Those buns.
Cool. If I could get one of those made, I'd make 1,000 of them and just give them out to people.
I got it for Christmas. Nick Manawa, Papa Manawa Figs on Facebook. He makes those things.
He does outstanding work.
Yeah, he does.
I had him do a set of Dr. D. David Schultz and John Stossel that I've since donated to the Minnesota Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame. Shout out to Carol Castle and those group of folks up there.
Yeah, I used him for an Amazing Maria figure for my daughter, for my niece. But yeah, he does amazing work. You should check him out, man. He'd do one.
What's his name?
Papa Manawa Figs on Facebook. His name's Nick. Well, his screen name is Nick Manawa. His actual name's Nick Glenn. That's right. Yep. I threw him under the bus. Nick Glenn. That's your real name. But no, he does really good work. And, my name's not really Chad French. There you go. There's a hot tip for you.
Ooh.
Chad, can we talk a little more about your write-ups that I read today?
Oh God, what did I say now?
I want to know, like, what is your background? Are you a stand-up comic at all? Comedian, humor, writer?
God no. I'm the least popular person in my house. So no, I'm not. I'm none of those things. I just say dumb things about wrestling. Sometimes it's funny.
Well,
That's
no, it's funny,
shtick.
and because I read it, and I was like, man, what is this guy? This guy gonna come on tonight and start bashing 80s wrestling, which I almost love more than my kids, But then I saw the WrestleMania 2 post, thought maybe we couldn't be friends, and now I'm like, well, maybe we can be, No,
man. If I didn't love this stuff from the time I was a little kid, I definitely wouldn't be involved with it now. I mean,
yeah.
Like I'm not a huge fan now due to some of the stuff he said, but when Hogan lost at WrestleMania 6, I was probably in tears. Like I legitimately love this stuff. Like even now, like I have friends that I speak to every day that I'm just so happy that when they accomplish stuff in this. There's so many talented people in this business that may never get the opportunity to make the big stage, but man, they're busting their butts, and I hope they do.
Yeah, I agree with you. Obviously I love the 80s because I was a kid and I had no responsibilities, and and I could wake up and eat Fruit Loops and watch Saturday morning cartoons and Superstars of Wrestling. That's why the 80s, no matter what, will always be my favorite decade, because it was when the decade was the easiest for me.
It was fun.
Yeah, it was.
It was awesome, man. I don't. Sometimes when I talk to people that grew up in different territories, like you guys, where you're like, "Oh, I watched Mid South or Memphis wrestling," I'm like, I wonder if that was the same as it was for me when I was watching WWF in the morning.
Yeah, man. It was like it's one of those situations where when I was able to watch 2 hours back to back, I remember the Undertaker almost getting stabbed by the Berserker on Superstars, and just random stuff that sticks in your mind from the time when you're a little kid till you're an adult. I mean, that's the good thing about wrestling. I mean,
Yeah.
it puts memories in your mind and it takes you back. Like I
Yeah.
remember where I was when Hogan got his chain ripped off by Andre.
Yeah.
I remember sitting in front of the TV almost in tears, and Piper like, you got blood on you, just like the greatest acting just of all time, just like stuff like that. That's why wrestling is special to people, because it sparks emotion, and I think that's why even when WWE sells out to Disney in 5 years, it's never gonna die.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. Two memories that I have where I actually cried watching wrestling was when what happened? Hillbilly Jim, when they were doing Manager of the Year, he gave his votes to Lou Albano so he would beat Bobby the Brain, and then King Kong Bundy like splashed him and put him in the hospital. I was like, I remember being on my knees saying prayers that Hillbilly Jim would be alive the next day.
Oh, Hillbilly Jim.
And then the next time it was on Saturday Night's Main Event when Morocco and Bundy attacked Hogan.
Oh man, that's the good stuff.
Who remembers being traumatized watching the Cobra bite Randy Savage?
Randy Savage? Oh yeah.
Oh gosh, I was literally just going to mention that. Literally.
Oh my gosh.
Well, it's funny. I had a pet garter snake. So like my friends and I would recreate it, and we would have like the snake like bite us.
Oh my god!
Yeah, well, good time.
Because obviously not poisonous, but
Yeah, still.
Yeah, no thanks.
Oh man,
those were some good times for sure. Well, Michael, where can people pick it up if they want to find it?
So again, it's theseatedsenton.com. It'll take you right to the page to order. Right now, you can actually get it for $4. It's $1 off on the pre-sale. And since someone was kind enough to sponsor some show called Podcade, you can use Podcade as the code for free shipping, and that'll save you a little over $1 too.
Cool, man. Well, hey, thanks for coming on tonight. I hope wish you the best of luck and
thanks, man.
A lot of success. Hopefully we meet up at a show sometime when when COVID goes away, and we can get back to going some conventions and shows and whatnot.
Oh man, it would be nice, right?
That's the dream.
Yep.
All right, guys. We'll see you later.
Peace.
See you later. Thank you later.